So, although everyone present is familiar with who I am, for those who will be seeing this video after, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Irene, the Change Catalyst. I'm also known as Green Irene. I am an author, an educator. I am a hypnotist and a guide. I specialize in holistic approaches to combating different life challenges, health challenges, and I love being a part of aiding people in personal transformations. That said, I want to welcome you now to the here and the now. Take a big deep breath in and out. You're here. And that means something because no one arrives at a moment like this by accident. Something inside of you knows. It knows that it's time. Time to stop spinning in circles. Maybe time to stop running on that treadmill and getting nowhere. It really is simply a time for a shift. If I'm right, give me a thumbs up. Right. Yes. All right. Now I'm sure today we're going to be talking about getting out of being stuck in a rut. And I'm sure that each and every one of you has felt the essence of being stuck before, at least once in your lifetime, right? Remember when you were a little kid and you played in the puddle after the rain and you got your boots stuck? Okay, well, remember how that section of the mud held your boot there? It's stuck and it wouldn't let you go anywhere? Yeah, okay, that's what life can be like sometimes, right? Maybe, just maybe, what you're going through right now sort of feels just like that. Stuck. Now, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, or financially, struggle and continuous struggle seems to pull us in deeper, feeling like we're stuck in that rut and there is absolutely no way out. And this can be drowning in debt, endless to-do lists. Maybe you're trapped in a job that you absolutely hate, or you simply find yourself repeating the same arguments in your own head over and over and over again. Well, I want you to take a minute and I want you to remember now how you freed your boot and got your foot free from that puddle when you were a child. Something shifted, right? Maybe it was your weight, possibly your posture, or a combination of the two, but you freed your boot. You got your foot free, right? And that's because a thought in your brain started that train, that program. There's a program already in your subconscious. When you shifted your weight, perhaps you turned your foot just a little slightly, and then suddenly you could feel it. You felt it. You felt that shift. At that moment in time, you knew that you could break yourself free. And so now I'm going to break this down for you, what actually happened there, because there is a program for getting unstuck that is already available to you in your mind to help you. And here's how that moment unfolds, step by step. 1, a thought sparks the shift. Your brain is going to recognize the need for change, and it starts setting things in motion. So you thought a small adjustment. Now, whether you did it consciously or subconsciously, you still made that shift, whether it was in your weight or you turned your foot, or you just had a new perspective. And then step 3, you felt the shift. That moment of realization hits you. Oh, yeah, I'm free. And you break free. And then, of course, the last bit of that program installs, and that is the confidence kicks in. You now know that freedom is possible, and you take action accordingly. That's a program, and it's already installed in your brain. Today, that's exactly what we're going to do, is we're going to activate that program, but we're going to apply it to whatever it is that we're feeling stuck in currently. We're going to make the shift, and by the end of our time together, you're not just going to understand the tools for transformation, you're going to experience them. We're going to be able to, so that when you experience this, you'll have learned it, tried it, and you can do it again and again and again at will. And the more that you do it, the better you'll become at doing it, and the more impactful it will be. So you can apply these tools and these techniques to all sorts of change in your life. If that sounds good, give me a double thumbs up. All right, perfect. Perfect. Yay. Okay, excellent. Let's start then, shall we? Today's webinar is probably going to prove to be something, well, different than anything else that you've experienced online before, because it's not simply another how to do session. This is an interactive experience that's designed to help you help you. So together, we're going to explore why we get stuck and how to recognize the signals that your mind and body are sending you through understanding how your subconscious shapes your reality and how to rewrite the program or the script that is creating that reality. And we're going to do that using the tools of NLP and hypnosis. These are strategies that create rapid and lasting shifts. Then we're going to actually install that through a live guided hypnosis experience to unlock your ability to shift at will. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about how Mindscaping helps you break through barriers when you don't know what those barriers are. So if you've ever been in a situation where it's like, I just don't know why I can't do this, like you don't know what's standing in your way, or let's say you're a writer and you're looking for that aha breakthrough, that middle of the night, oh, that's the answer, and you want that at will. Mindscaping really helps with that. It helps to free you from what's holding you back, even when you're not sure what that content is. And because you've taken this step today, you're going to receive a special attendees only offer that I'm going to share with you shortly. Let's talk a little bit about why we get stuck. Because once you understand the why, the how of moving forward becomes so much easier and clearer. So, why do we get stuck? Well, the brain is wired for comfort and consistency. It wants to repeat patterns. It wants things to be as familiar as possible so that we can go on autopilot. So even when we want to change our subconscious, even when we want to change, our subconscious often resists it because it sees the familiar as safe and efficient. So even if that safe and efficient is frustrating, it's still safer than the unknown. You might be familiar with the saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. We've all kind of heard that at this stage in life. Well, this is something, it's something like that. And it's called cognitive dissonance, which is a term that the psychologist Leon Festinger coined. And it happens when our actions don't match our beliefs. That mental tug of war can really keep us stuck in old habits. For example, if deep down you're believing that I'll never be healthy, but you're trying to exercise and you're trying to eat better, but your brain is feeling that contradiction. And so it's trying really hard, just as hard as your conscious brain is, to keep things the same. And it keeps running that familiar program of unhealthy. Now, it's not doing this because it's against you. Rather, it's doing it because it thinks it's keeping you safe or in that familiar zone. And does that make sense to everyone? Okay, great, excellent. There's also something else called the hedonic treadmill. Now, this is the idea that no matter how much our external circumstances change, we tend to return to a familiar emotional baseline. So, for example, have you ever gotten something that you thought would make you happy? Like, I don't know, maybe a new promotion, I'll be happy as soon as I get that promotion. Or if I just had a new home, I know I would be happier. Or it could even be something like a healthy routine. If I just had a routine, then I know that I'd be healthier. But you get those things, any one of those things, and within a very short period of time, you're back to feeling the same stuck that you were feeling before. Has anybody experienced that? Show of hands? Yeah. Okay, that's known as the treadmill effect in action. Well, the hedonic, and I may not be pronouncing it right. Hedonic, don't know. But it's a treadmill effect in action. And it's why we can make changes and still feel stuck. But here's the key. You're not stuck. Because just because your mind wants to run that same familiar program doesn't mean that it has to. In fact, you can change it. And we're going to start doing that right now. We're going to start with our very first interactive exercise. And this is super easy. That pen and paper I told you to grab. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a moment for yourself. I want you to take a nice deep breath and tune in to what I'm saying. Take a deep breath through your nose and slowly let it out. And again. And on the third one, I want you to close your eyes just for a moment and ask yourself the question, where do I feel stuck? Is it physical? Your body, energy, health, maybe? Or is it emotional? Maybe it's stress, frustration. Perhaps you're feeling overwhelmed. Or is it mental? Maybe you're doing a lot of overthinking or self-doubt or feeling unmotivated. Don't force an answer. Just notice what naturally comes up. And when you know where it is that you feel stuck, please open your eyes and write that down. Excellent. Okay, has everybody got a word or a sentence that lets them know? Give a show of hands. Cool, cool. Let's go to step 2. This is just as easy. I want you to find the hidden belief. Once you've got an idea of where it is that you're stuck, it's important to determine what the belief is that's holding you there. So close your eyes again and ask yourself, what do I believe about this situation? For example, I've tried everything and nothing works. Or it might be something like, well, it doesn't really matter. I always mess up eventually. Perhaps you're saying something to yourself like, I don't deserve to feel happy and free. Whatever it is, whatever the belief is that pops up, don't judge it. Just notice it. And as soon as you notice it, open your eyes and write it down. Excellent. Okay, everybody's got that down? Let's go to step 3. This is where you're going to notice the conflict. What I want you to think about now is what you would rather believe. So in other words, if you could believe something totally different or rewrite that old story, how would it actually go in your head? And what I mean by that is maybe instead of saying something like, well, I always mess up, you might rather believe that I'm learning what works for me. Or perhaps instead of saying, well, nothing ever changes, you can say something like, I'm already shifting, because you are right now. So think about that. And when you figured out what it is that you would like to replace those thoughts with, the ideal rewrite, open your eyes and jot down your insights. Awesome. And so what you should have in front of you now is 1, the area that you're feeling stuck in, 2, the belief that's keeping you there, and 3, the new freeing belief. And I want you to notice, did you see what we just did there? You actually uncovered that hidden script or that program that's running in your mind. Yeah. And once you see it, you can't unnotice it. And once you notice it, there has to be a shift. And once there's a shift, you genuinely cannot unnotice it. Anything you learn, you cannot unlearn. It's like just like when you got your boots unstuck from the mud. You knew that you could. There was no doubt in your mind that you could get your boot free from the mud. And just like now, there's no doubt in your mind, in your subconscious anyway, that you can be unstuck. Now, you don't need to pull harder. You don't need to shift your weight. You don't need to change the angle. You just need to allow whatever shift it is that your subconscious knows to make to be free. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to find the right shifts so that you can move forward. And now that you've identified where you're stuck, we can actually take it a step further with a guided experience. So this next part is going to help you feel that shift in real time. But before we do, what I'd like to do is open the floor and see if you have any questions or any particular insights that you may want to discuss before we go into the next step. Does anyone have any questions or comments, insights that they'd like to share?
Can I ask, where have you felt stuck?
More often than not, I think I get to feeling stuck in life, stuck in ideas. You know, I've got this brilliant idea, but I don't know what to do with it. And so I feel like I'm constantly banging my head against the wall, trying to figure out, do I go this way? Do I go that way? That is probably one of the biggest things. I think there's probably a lot of areas throughout life, like throughout my life, in which it's like, I'm stuck again. I just don't know what to do with this kind of thing. And hypnosis really, really helps identifying where it is or what it is, even a label. It doesn't have to be a correct label as long as my subconscious attaches that to that stuck feeling, then I can work it out. And NLP and hypnosis are the 2 greatest tools for doing that. Does that help answer your question, Jeremy? Excellent. Okay, thank you for asking. Anybody else have any questions?
I just had a comment about this process actually, because when I first heard you talking about it, I was like, I don't really have any areas in my life that I feel stuck. I feel happy and blah, blah, blah. But then when I actually wrote it down and took the breaths, it just hit me what it was, even though I didn't think there was anything. And then I was like, how could I not even think that? So just this process that we went through of writing, I can see benefit already just writing it.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, sometimes we need to attach different senses for our brain to actually pull things out. Sometimes things are deeper than we realize in that filing system of our brain. And so sometimes attaching maybe a smell or kinesthetic, which is what we've done here by writing it out right after we had the thought, it makes it more real. It's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, and I think
Cool.
because when you're stuck, you don't always, it kind of puts you in that vibration of like not having great awareness necessarily because you're entrenched in being stuck. And you know what I mean?
You get used to it.
Yeah, it becomes like a normal thing.
Yeah, and that's the brain doing its thing, making things familiar. No matter how uncomfortable it is, it's become the familiar. So we're okay with it and we move on, right? But we don't have to. We don't have to be okay with it. And that's the cool thing. Our next step, what we're going to be doing is now that we've actually identified it, We can talk about how to create that real change that's going to happen, that's going to compound on top of what we've already done, because recognizing the problem is really just the first step, right? What truly matters is how we rewire the brain so that we can move beyond it. And this is where the hypnosis and the NLP come in. Now, these are the two most powerful tools I have found to use to unlock really deep, lasting transformation. And I'm going to give you a metaphor here. I want you to think of your mind like a garden. And over the years, certain thoughts, in particular, particular beliefs, they've all been planted. And over time, they've taken root. Now, some of these thoughts are empowering, and these ones are like the strong, healthy trees in our mind. But others are like weeds. They're old, outdated beliefs that choke out the new growth. And to give you an idea of an old, outdated belief, I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was a little girl, there was lots of us in my grandmother's kitchen, and she always gave everybody some sort of task in the cooking and or in the activity that was going on. It didn't matter how young or old you were. There were many hands, and many hands make for little work. So I was around 3 or 4 at the time, and my hands were empty. So Nanny handed me a bucket full of strawberries, and she wanted me to get the little green stems off the strawberries. And now, Ojibwe, or in Native culture, the strawberry is known as admin, and admin is the heart of Mother Earth. And so my grandmother said to me, now you don't want to take a knife to that, keeping in mind I was 3 or 4 years old. You don't take a knife to strawberries. You never cut the heart with a knife. So I used the spoon and I scooped off the stems. I was 49 years old before I realized, before it even occurred to me that yes, and it was because I couldn't find a spoon to cut my strawberries that finally I just took the butter knife and cut the strawberries. But I looked and I looked and I looked for a spoon until I was so frustrated, and then I realized I can use a knife. There was the shift. But these are the kinds of old weeds and thought patterns that can get installed in our brain, and we don't even know they're there. So when we start to look at them and we start to ask our subconscious mind, hey, show me what's going on in there, we find these things. Now, hypnosis, fortunately, helps us to gently uproot those weeds and plant new seeds of change, new thoughts and new perspectives and new possibilities and, new ideas like, duh, get a knife. As for NLP, that's like learning how to be the gardener of the garden in your brain. You can actually tend to that garden better. Training your mind to recognize patterns, to rewrite the old scripts or programs that are running, and to shift that inner dialogue in a way that actually supports your goals instead of working against you. Now, the best part of this is that you don't have to force this. Just like the shift in weight can free your foot from being stuck in the mud, small shifts in perception can truly create profound changes in your life. Now, in a moment, I'm going to guide you through a short hypnotic experience, one that's going to allow you to actually feel what it's like to create the shift. Before we do, however, I want to talk about what hypnosis really is and what it isn't. Because let's be real, there are a lot of weird ideas out there about what it is, and it fascinates me daily. But some people hear the word hypnosis and immediately they think of swinging pocket watches or clucking like a chicken on stage, right? But the truth of the matter is, hypnosis isn't about losing control. It's about gaining it. It's a way to tap into that part of your mind that is already running the show behind the scenes. Now, I know we've all seen that picture of the iceberg. This is your conscious above the water, and this is your subconscious below it. So I want you to imagine that now. And the thing is it's a really good visual for explaining this, because your conscious mind is the part that is above the surface. And this is the part of your mind that thinks logically. This is the part that makes decisions and keeps track of whatever it is that's happening in the right here and the right now, and, the day-to-day things. But below the surface, that's your subconscious, and that's where the real powerhouse is. That's where your habits, your beliefs, and all of your automatic responses live. Now, right now, if you to get a better idea of this, your subconscious is handling everything. Although you're listening to me, you are absorbing 7 to 9 bits of information. But your subconscious is handling everything. It's keeping your heart beating, it's processing emotions, it's managing hormones, it's even regulating your body temperature. And it's doing all of this without you having to think about it, which, gosh, when you think about it, is really pretty amazing. Now, Sigmund Freud was the first who introduced the idea of the conscious and the subconscious mind. But more recently, neuroscientist Antonio Damasio has shown that through a series of experiments and so on, and he's got all kinds of papers out on the subject now. And it shows that most of our decisions actually happen before we're consciously aware of them. And it's estimated about 6 seconds. That's amazing. So 6 seconds ago, I knew I was going to say this now, and I knew 6 seconds before that I'd say, you get the idea. But what this really means is the choices we think we're making, well, even we're not making them as consciously as we thought we were. They're often decided deep in the subconscious first, which is really kind of interesting. But it's also great news for me and for you, because hypnosis gives us a way to communicate with that part of our mind directly. And when we do that, change happens naturally, without force, easily and efficiently, effectively. And the thing is, you've already experienced it. If you're thinking, I don't know about hypnosis, well, let me tell you, you've already, and you do it on a regular basis. If you have ever driven somewhere and realize you don't remember the last few minutes or X part of the trip, that's a trance. And if you've ever been lost in a really, really good book and just so engaged that the rest of the world seemed to fade away, that's hypnosis. And if neither of those resonate with you, if you've ever watched a movie where you've been so engrossed in the movie that, you jumped back when something came at you, or you cried when the lead character died, that's hypnosis. That's hypnotic trance. That is your mind so hyper-focused on something that the rest of the world fades away. So what we're about to do together today isn't anything strange or unfamiliar. It's just using that natural ability that you have already on purpose so that you can create the shifts that you want to help you. Let's begin. What I'd like everybody to do is just take a nice moment to get yourself comfortable and in a good position. I want you to take a nice deep breath in and out. Bring your focus to your hand, to whichever hand you choose, and pick one spot on the palm of that hand. It might be a crease or a line. And notice how some of those lines are very deep and others are very faint. Just gently rest your gaze there and keep looking, blinking as little as possible. And as you do, I want you to notice how your eyes begin to feel. The lids are heavier, perhaps more relaxed, almost as if they want to close. That's right. You don't have to force it. You can just allow it to happen. And in a moment, when you're completely ready, and as your eyelids have drifted shut, you may notice a wave of relaxation flowing through you. You may notice it running deeply and effortlessly, like a gentle wave washing over you. Notice how your breath moves through you. Cool as you inhale, warm as you exhale. Understand that each breath is guiding you deeper and deeper into a space of comfort and calm that is familiar to you. And you can verify that sensation and space now, allowing any external noises to simply bring you deeper and deeper into this state of calm and space of comfort. Allowing the sense of ease to flow through your body. You can interpret it in your own way, maybe as a gentle floating feeling, perhaps as a soft warmth spreading through you. And maybe it's just quiet stillness inside. Whatever it is, just notice and allow for now. And I want you to imagine being in front of a door that leads to space where you feel truly free, completely unburdened, fully unstuck, completely in motion. And as you step through that doorway, in your mind, in the eye of your mind, you can feel it. Feel as though something has changed and something is different. And just like when you were a child and your boot got stuck in the mud, at first you pulled and pulled, but nothing happened until you shifted your weight in just slightly. And then suddenly you felt it move and you knew you could pull free. And just like that, something shifts inside you now. Whatever was holding you back, whatever felt impossible, is loosening now, unfurling, and you can feel the change. And every time you take a deep breath, that change settles deeper inside. And the more you practice using this awareness, the stronger it becomes. You are learning to shift at will to help you, to create momentum to move forward. And that freedom is yours. In a moment, I'll count from 1 to 5. And as I do, you'll begin to return to a full awareness, feeling energized and alert, bringing this feeling of clarity and freedom with you. 1, feeling energy returning to your body, returning to the here and the now. 2, becoming more aware of the space around you. 3, wiggling your fingers or stretching slightly. 4, the eyes are ready to open, feeling refreshed and empowered. And 5, eyes open, fully present, fully aware, beginning to integrate the shift consciously and unconsciously, easily and effortlessly. Nice. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the here and the now. Take one more deep breath in, holding all of these great resources that you've opened with your mind, and notice that something has shifted. And it may be subtle, it may be profound. You can feel it, and you can allow yourself to feel it. Hypnosis is just one way to create change. Sometimes the thing that's keeping us stuck is deeper, and we don't quite know what it is. That's where something like Mindscaping comes in. Mindscaping is a type of hypnosis. It's a very guided, directional, content-free sort of hypnosis. It's like stepping into a waking dream, one where your subconscious reveals symbolically what it was that you needed to move forward. But it's content-free, meaning you don't have to analyze or explain anything. It just simply works. So if you've ever had one of those dreams where you woke up in the middle of the night and went, oh, I have all the answers, and you searched and searched for a pen and paper, and by the time you found one, all the answers were gone. I think we've all experienced something along those lines. Well, Mindscaping will help you get that aha moment, but you're wide awake when you get it. So it's like being awake in a dream. Unfortunately, it's not something that we can do to ourselves, unlike self-hypnosis, which we definitely can. But Mindscaping is a more guided procedure. So because you took this step today, I have something special I told you about in the beginning. And for the next 30 days from today's date, you can book a private Mindscape session with me at half price using this link only that is on the screen now. For those of you who are watching after the live event, please know that 30 days from the day you watch, you will have to book that time with me. And that's for 50% off. That's a pretty big deal. Book now and free yourself from the invisible force that's been standing in your way. I will help you to get out of your own way. I want to move on now. Take a moment and just notice how I'm feeling, how you're feeling right now. Perhaps you're feeling a little bit lighter. You might be feeling a little clearer, have a little more clarity, perhaps. Perhaps whatever it is, you can't quite put it into words, but something has definitely shifted. And that shift, it's yours to keep and to use again and again and again. Because the more you practice this kind of activity, the stronger it will become. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the easier the shifting will become. Before we wrap up, of course, I want to open the floor for any more questions, comments, insights, that sort of thing. Perhaps something came up during the experience, or there's something that you might like a little more clarity on. This is your time. Does anyone have any questions?
I asked, how long, I don't know, on average or typically, whatever, would you say a mindscaping session goes for?
Well, the average Mindscaping session that I do from beginning to end lasts about 90 minutes. And that includes intake, pre-talk, and then kind of integration afterwards. Now, a Mindscape can be accomplished in 20 minutes. In fact, 20 minutes of Mindscaping is all that is required. So of that 90 minutes, only about a half hour of it is actual Mindscaping. There's about a half hour pre-talk and a half hour integration after.
I guess, have you ever encountered something when mindscaping with somebody that was like surprising to you, or I don't know, like all this imagery is coming from the subject?
Yes. So I provide nothing of the imagery with the exception of suggestion as the guide, with the exception of suggestion. So for example, if in someone's mindscape they run into, yeah, there's just a wall there, or there's just darkness there. And I'd say, well, I wonder if you could imagine a light, what it would look like, that darkness. So I can help get you to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. And through that, all of the imagery and symbology is revealed to you that your subconscious is holding. And you know, my own mentor, my instructor who taught me this is a Mike Mandel process. I don't understand the science to it, but it works. So now, to answer the other part of your question, nothing has surprised me with the clients that I've worked with to date, simply because it's there. I don't see what they're seeing. They're seeing it, and I hear words, black wall, dark cloud, or brilliant sun, or too bright. I hear those nominalizations, if you will. In my own mindscape, I had a few things show up at different experiences where it was like, whoa, where did that come from? I mean, I had a lion jump out with a bear head, and it was like, well, that was creative. It's very interesting to see how your subconscious mind works. And when you're walking through your own dreamscape, fully alert, it's a very unique experience. Does that help to answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else with any questions? No? Okay, let's move on then. I really do appreciate you guys coming today. I really appreciate the feedback. Your willingness to explore, to be open, and to take this step. It's big. That's what makes all the difference. It makes all the difference for me to continue doing what I'm doing, but it also makes all the difference for you, because these are designed to help you so that you don't have to go to somebody else all the time. I mean, it's a good thing to have that external support, but sometimes we just need to deal with shit on our own, right? And in that case, these tools, these techniques can really help you do that. That being said, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, if whatever it is that stood out to you, or what insights you may or may have gained. Your feedback really does help to shape these sessions so that I can bring the most value to you and others that may follow. If you found it helpful, I ask that you share it with a friend, of course, and maybe some of their friends too. Anybody you think of that could use a shift, if this was as effective for you as I expect it to be. Don't forget to save your seat for next month's webinar, free webinar next month as well. That'll be March 26th. So the last Wednesday of every month, there will be a live webinar such as today's. And in March, we're going to look at rewiring stress and anxiety, to take back control of your mind and body. Because let's face it, stress and anxiety aren't just in your brain. They're in your body. Stress and anxiety will manifest physically. So it's in your body. It's also in your behaviors. It's in your habits. It's in your daily decisions. It's in your attitude. If stress has been running the show to date, it's time to take those reins back. We don't want to be acting out in stress. Speaking with somebody recently, I brought up the fact that yes, stress will manifest in our daily habits. We don't walk into the bush and poke an injured animal. So why do we speak loudly or abruptly to somebody who is not feeling well? And the person who is not feeling well is going to be aggressive. It's that stress or anxiety is going to come out in their behavior. So if you want to change that, if you want to find tools and ways to rewire that stress or rewire that anxiety, please join me next month on the 26th at 7 p.m. Again, just make sure you sign up for it, and I'll send you the link. On another note, before I let you all go, I want to tell you about Friday. I am coming back. Yes, the FIBRO Fighters Live is coming back. It's a Q&A that starts this Friday. You can join me live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook or YouTube. Our battle strategy Q&A really is where we talk about different tools and techniques to help tackle things like the chronic pain. We learn tools for creating mindset shifts, kind of like what we did here today. And we talk about other breakthrough strategies for long-term wellness for those who are fighting fibro, because you don't have to be a victim. You can be a victor over this dis-ease. That said, now that I'm getting a little parched, I think I need to say thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Please tell your friends and their friends to share your thoughts, and I will see you all soon.